I am calling all my quick starters out there. I'm back with more business talk, but today's moment can be applied to all of the areas of your life, honestly. I actually came across this TikTok recently that was talking about how when you get an inkling to do something, just do it. So for example, maybe it's like, I don't know, 6 o'clock, you just got home from work if you leave the house to work, and you have this thought to go work out, and then you like let it pass. The TikTok was basically saying like, nah, once you have that little thought to go work out, just get up, just go work out. Um, how does that relate to business? So for me personally, I love to work intuitively, which can be very hard sometimes because sometimes I just don't have the energy, but I know that I don't want to create from that space, and yes, there's such thing as discipline and not working from motivation, but it's very hard for me, especially if I'm creating content, to work from a place of blah, you know? And Candace and I actually talked about this in an episode of Made with Intention. If you don't know, I have another podcast with my homie Candace, and I'll link to that particular episode in the show notes because basically she and I talked about how we are quick starters. And so if you're not familiar, a quick starter in business is someone who has an idea. Let's say they want to hire you to help them. They have an idea, they want to hire you to help them with the idea. They don't want to take time to map shit out. They just want to dive in and get started and basically launch it next week. I'm not that far, there's definitely strategy involved, and obviously I map out everything that I do as I do it so that I have it as a reference. But she and I both were relating about how when we get a new business idea, especially if it's something like creative and fun, we just go with it and like launch that shit. And that's actually how I made this podcast. I had been thinking about it for a while. I actually had started recording episodes of a podcast called Tell Me About It. And I'll sprinkle in those episodes that I recorded throughout these moments with May. But I never launched that podcast, and I recorded those episodes in April. And as with anything, again, I work and I move intuitively, so I knew that there wasn't a reason why I didn't launch it yet. And then a friend, like 2 weeks ago, shout out to Bammy, I was mentioning how I just wanted to do like a daily podcast, just quick, bite-sized moments, and she's like, oh, why do you call them Moments with May? And here we are. So literally yesterday, I woke up, I said, fuck it. Today's the day, September 1st is Thursday. Let's start clean, let's start recording episodes so I can be ahead of the game. Recorded the first episode, figured out Anchor, signed up for Anchor, designed the cover art, pushed everything to Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, and here we are, episode 3. And sometimes people watch me work and they're just like, how do you do this? I actually spoke to a friend that yesterday evening. I was telling her what I did, and she's like, how do you work this way? And I don't know, but it works, especially when it's just something that I'm passionate about. Now with that, a lot of coaches, especially business coaches, push back against this because ideally, if you're going to launch something, you have, a launch plan, you have, especially if it's like a high ticket offer, you map out your content to promote it, you build a buzz for it. And that sounds cool. And I'm sure that works for a lot of people. And I definitely want to try that method. Like definitely the next time I launch a high ticket, probably like group program, I definitely want to be strategic about, okay, let me put aside 3 months, really map it out, map out my newsletters, map out, my Instagram content, if I hop on TikTok, whatever it may be. But when it comes to other things, like you just gotta roll with it. And so it just works for me. You know what I mean? So no, this is not to go against, anyone who prefers to map out their launches and to have a longer lead time. That's cool if that works for you. What I'm saying is that does not mean that that's the only way. And also it does not mean that that's the right way. There are many successful people who have gotten by just fine with getting an idea and launching that shit. Actually, shout out to Candace, who has killed it 10 years in the game. And as we spoke about, that's how she moves too. You know what I mean? And so there's nothing wrong with strategy. And also, hold on, because it's not to say that being a quick starter and launching things, who's to say that that's not strategic? Because mind you, when I started this podcast yesterday, I was mapping out every step that I took to record and film these moments. And now I have a full SOP. I have my notes mapped out for each episode. I have a template in Notion. When I have a new episode idea or moment idea, I open it. I have the notes ready. I type in what I want to talk about. I have the intro ready, my script. and I have all the things that I have to do to publish this moment. And so there's strategy. Even if you're moving quickly, there's still strategy behind it, let me tell you. So yeah, basically, in summary, this episode is dedicated to all of my quick starters. Conversely, on the flip side, as I mentioned with this other podcast idea I had, Tell Me About It, I really, I thought that I was going to go ahead and launch it. I recorded like 8 episodes with friends. And again, I will still use those episodes. I will publish them here. It can be very hard for me, but I know that when there is resistance, when I'm not excited to launch something, or even if I recorded a bunch of episodes and I don't launch something, that's for a reason. Turns out this was the reason. It was Moments with Maed. There's always a motherfucking reason. And again, it's easier said than done. But as someone who has seen the rewards of working intuitively, I'm here to remind you that if there is resistance to launching something new, doing something new, going out with a certain friend, saying yes to that date, whatever it may be, if there's resistance, it's for a reason. Because that's literally, that resistance is your intuition. That resistance is your gut. And again, I know it can be difficult to listen and to move intuitively, but I'm here to remind you that the rewards are endless. Because this podcast, I haven't been this excited about something in a really long time. And I'm way more excited about this than I was about Tell Me About It. And so if you're feeling stuck right now, you have all the ideas and you feel like you can't move, I know how frustrating that can feel as someone who struggles sometimes with patience. But this is my reminder that it's for a reason. And so